Welcome to episode 78 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I am your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from the Vault Studio on the beautiful campus of Grace College and Theological Seminary by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who successfully navigated the concrete jungle known as Cincinnati, Ohio, John Scott Sloat.
Doc, what's happening?
A lot. I'm getting ready to head out on vacation.
Nice.
tomorrow.
Where are you headed?
We are headed to Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Rocky Mountain High.
Yeah, a little hiking.
Yeah, we'll get some hiking in and seeing the in-laws, so that'll be good.
Very nice.
Yes, indeed. So looking forward to that. What about you? What's been going on with you?
Prepping to travel. So I go on the road for the first time in Pandemic World 2.0, and hit some youth conferences across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana. So that'll be the next 2 weeks of life.
On the recruiting trail.
Yeah, that starts like the 7th or 8th of July. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming.
You got big plans for the 4th coming up here?
My parents are in town. So they
Scott
are
and Celeste.
Scott and Celeste.
Lovely people.
They're doing that classic move at 60 from Tampa to Indiana.
Very countercultural with them.
Yes. And so I think they're doing some house shopping while they're here as well. So
Okay. Well, glad that you're going to get to see them, and hopefully that works out well for them.
Yeah, and I asked them yesterday. I was like, "What food do you want?" They just went, "Oh, just barbecue every day." I went, "Okay, I can do that."
Yes, you and the smoker will be spending lots of time together.
I have the technology.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. So if you as listeners would like to connect with us, you can find us on Twitter at VNSPod. We've had a little bit more chatter on Twitter last week, which was good.
Yeah, the Gray Mamba.
Yes, the Gray Mamba. Shout out.
Confessing sin on there.
Well, we are a full-service podcast here, so indeed. You can find us on Twitter at VNSPod. You can email the show variousandsunderypodcast@gmail.com. And we do have a Facebook page, and I was realizing this morning, I guess I just need to take that over because you can't access it anymore.
No, and I have no desire to access it anymore.
Okay.
It's been just a wonderful – now, I will say I don't know what's going on in the world of people's lives. Like, oh, so-and-so had a baby. I had no idea. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. And
Yeah.
what a wonderful life it is.
But you can find us on Facebook, and so I'll try to do better here.
Yeah, I feel like I need to start calling it the Facebook.
The Facebook,
because I'm not on it. Yeah.
Okay. And we are available on YouTube as well. You can find us Various and Sundry Podcast. We would love for you to leave us a rating and review, a 5-star rating, of course, only, and on whatever podcast platform you access the show. So we'd appreciate that. Let's jump right into the world of sports. So what's going on, John?
Well, NBA playoffs are underway. I'm not sure we've had any series end, really, since our last.
No. So we're recording on Tuesday morning, and this episode will release later today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Suns lead the Clippers 3-2. The Suns had a chance to close it out last night and failed at home in Phoenix. The Clippers are just hard to kill off. They get down in these 2-0 holes, and now they were down 3-1, and they just seem to be hard to eliminate. But and I think part of that too is just Phoenix is a young team. They're still they didn't make the playoffs last year, so you got a lot of guys who just besides Chris Paul who
just aren't experienced.
Yeah. And so it's
Let me ask you this: is Paul George having a good playoffs?
I think so.
He had 41 points last night.
Yeah.
15 of 20. I mean, that feels like a really good night.
Yeah, he's putting up numbers. I think he missed a couple free throws late in game 4 that were pretty costly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I mentioned this in an episode before, 2 episodes before. I think what we're learning here is Paul George is a pretty good Batman. He's not a very good Robin.
Okay, meaning he's good with the ball in his hand, but he's not good playing second fiddle to Kawhi.
He's got to be the guy on the team. And he's not with Kawhi. Kawhi's the better player.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I think he just kind of struggles to fit into that number 2 spot. But when Kawhi's hurt and out, suddenly he he looks like a different player. He looks more assertive. He looks more comfortable. And it just raises the question of if the chemistry there is going to work, Like if that chemistry with Kawhi and Paul George will actually work to win a championship.
Do they blow it up after this year, do you think?
I doubt it. I think they're probably – they're in the conference finals now, and Kawhi's hurt. So if they get eliminated,
it's understandable.
It's going to be, Kawhi was hurt. So I think they'll keep that in place. They might tinker with the edges.
Yeah. It seemed like earlier in the playoffs this narrative was emerging about Paul George can't win the big game, can't play well with others, sorts of things. And now all of a sudden he's putting up these phenomenal numbers. And that's it just seems like the narrative is spun a little bit. And I can't tell whether he's having a good series, whether he's having a good playoffs this year or not.
Well, the numbers would say he's having a great playoffs, I think.
Since Kawhi was hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. And then on the other series, the difference in quality of basketball to me between these two series is pretty striking.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy watching Suns and Clippers. What I don't enjoy, like the Bucks Hawks, I'm not enjoying that series as much. Other than it's fun to watch Trae Young start to blow up and
he got hurt though. That's
the big question.
He rolled an ankle, and so we're curious if he's coming back.
Yeah, I think he'll play. At what level remains to be seen.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. So, and then not playoffs. Major League Baseball. What's going on with your Mets here?
Yeah. We're still in first place by 3 games. We ran into the Nationals yesterday, and it was a makeup game, so it was just sort of a one-off. But have you been paying attention to Kyle Schwarber?
No.
Of the Nationals?
No.
So Kyle Schwarber was on the Cubs World Series team.
Right.
Familiar
with the name, yep.
Yep. Was a good, not a good defensive outfielder, but a great offensive talent.
Yep.
Last year, they just let him go. Didn't even. I don't believe they made him a qualifying offer. They just let him go because he wasn't playing very well. Well, he bet on himself, took a 1-year deal with the Nationals. He had something like he's at right now in June, 16 home runs in the month of June.
Wow. Okay.
I think he hit 2 or 3 last night, and they said home runs haven't been hit like that since Sammy Sosa did it in 97, 98?
Yeah, I think so.
And he's just knocking the cover off the ball. Just hitting there was a pitch in on his chin, and he hit the foul pole with it. That's the sort of series or sort of month he's having.
Okay.
And he's willing them to victory, basically. And he bet on himself he's going to get a monster contract in the offseason this year. And he probably deserves it.
Yeah. Are there whispers that he's juicing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
The other news is the spider tax stuff and all these things. That's a fun narrative to play around with.
I think that'll come up in our that'll come up in our one of our segments later in the show.
Yeah.
So so baseball. How far before the All-Star break are we?
Oh, I think we're like a week and a half, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not far now.
Okay. Gotcha. Because it's not exactly halfway anymore. Isn't there a little bit more in the front half before the All-Star?
I think so, but it's still considered like the halfway point of the season.
Sure.
For all intents and purposes.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, let's move on to our discussion of this week's segment of Jesus, the Great Philosopher. That's a book that we've been working through with Jonathan Pennington, and we finished the last 2 chapters today.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the subject matter, it's kind of a concluding. He entitles this section "Being Human and Happy." So, John, what were some of the things that maybe caught your attention as you read through that?
Well, it's broken up into 2 chapters, kind of like the rest of them. Like here's secular philosophy really talking about this, and here's the second chapter is really Christianity's answer to those things. And he kind of goes through in his first chapter and connects secular philosophy to really a philosophy of being happy. Mm-hmm. That is what this is. That's what philosophy is ultimately about.
Yeah.
It is about making flourishing humans that are happy.
Okay. Yeah. I think in that discussion, one of his more helpful aspects is on 189 is he makes an important connection between happiness and meaningfulness. Mm-hmm. In other words, that sometimes our culture just thinks of happiness in connection with favorable circumstances. Mm-hmm. Oh, my job's going well, my relationships are great, I'm financially comfortable, like all the circumstances around you, and you think that's happiness. And part of what Pennington shows is that even within the philosophical tradition, happiness is much deeper than that. Mm-hmm. It's rooted in a life that has meaning and significance and purpose.
Yep.
That it's not just an accumulation of stuff or favorable circumstances. And I think that's a helpful touch point with our culture, that there's an entry point that we can enter into and say, true happiness isn't found in circumstances or possessions or those sorts of things. It comes from a sense of meaning and purpose. And then that raises the question, so where do you find it?
Where do you find meaning and purpose? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the central question. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found that distinction, not distinction, but that connection helpful.
Well, and I think it'd be hard to think of stories that every pastor has told a story of some kind or another where people are like, I have everything in the world I want. Mm-hmm. I'm still deeply unhappy.
Yeah. One of the more recent ones I think I remember hearing was the Tom Brady, not after the most recent Super Bowl, but the previous one, number 5 or whatever that was.
On the first hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he won that, I think he was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and I think he made some comment to the effect of, after winning it, basically saying, is this it?
Yeah. Is this the mountaintop?
Like he had reached the pinnacle in terms of his NFL career in that sense of he had now won more Super Bowls than any quarterback, more or less cementing his position as the greatest quarterback in NFL history.
Sure.
As much as it pains me to say that. And yeah, there was at least an acknowledgement of this wasn't everything that I had hoped. And you think about a guy like Tom Brady. On the surface, he's got everything, mm-hmm. right? He's got the elite success in a high profile professional sport. He has a supermodel wife. Mm-hmm. They have more wealth. She makes more money than he does.
Yeah. She's worth more than he is. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not a poor man. And even with that, they've got a couple. They have a kid or two.
I believe 2. He started his own health and wellness company called TB12.
Yeah.
And basically the idea is, I'm playing football into my 40s.
Yeah.
Come do what I do.
Yeah. And yet there's still this recognition of, is this really it? Is this all there is?
Mm-hmm.
Is there more available in life? And I think that sense of finding meaning and purpose that has to transcend even what the world looks at and goes, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could. There's plenty of people who are like, I'd love to have Tom Brady's life, and to hear Tom Brady say, "Yeah, but there could be more to this, right? Like this isn't everything, is it?
Yeah,
like, it's got to be more than this." I think is a helpful reminder. In his last chapter, Pennington talks about the reality of Christianity as a whole life philosophy and God's intention for us to have a whole and meaningful life. Mm-hmm. And of course, that has to be defined biblically and carefully. And Pennington does a good job of making clear that, well, that doesn't preclude suffering. He's not a prosperity gospel advocate here where it's like, yeah, if you just follow Jesus, your life is going to be easy and simple and prosperous in the financial sense and in the worldly sense.
Sure. And he points to Jesus as the ultimate flourishing human, the ultimate whole human being.
Right.
And Jesus suffered,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
had deep loss, cried,
mm-hmm.
Often, and this is part of flourishing.
Yeah,
experiencing some of those things, and it reminds me of Tim Keller illustration where he would say, like, if I told you there was an individual who had all the wealth in the world and his parents used their wealth to never allow him to suffer, struggle, or have anything difficult happen to him, you'd look at that person and go, oh my goodness, when suffering does come, he's not going to be ready for anything.
Yeah. You probably raised an entitled brat, is what you've done.
Yes. That will fall over at the first roadblock. You know.
Sure.
And that's part of flourishing is something that pushes back against us. You know, to something to persevere through.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think another takeaway I've had from this is it's just another angle on there are certain strains of Christianity that are so focused on, it's just about getting people into heaven, getting people's souls saved, and making sure their eternal destiny is locked in. And obviously, I mean, that's foundational. I mean, that's essential. But sometimes the way we talk about Christianity can give the impression of that's all it really offers. It's eternal fire insurance. And then it's just sort of hang on. Grit your teeth and hang on and try to survive until you get there kind of thing. And that Christianity has so much more to offer. The gospel has so much more to offer in terms of thinking about how we live in this world, how we live as image bearers, and how we experience God's presence and delight in this life, not just sort of holding on until the next kind of thing. So this is another angle at that, I think, that Pennington helpfully raises and addresses there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so anything else on those two chapters?
I don't think so. I just want to let our listeners know that next week we'll be playing our interview.
Yes,
with Dr. Pennington.
Yes,
and it was a ton of fun.
Yeah,
it was a really good interview. And I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and if you want to find out what the best coffee shops in Louisville are, you'll want to tune into that.
Way to pronounce the city right there. It's not Louisville.
Well, I've had enough experience. I mean, T4G has been there since 2006, and so Louisville. There's a mumble in it.
Mm-hmm. It's like something's fallen out of your mouth. That's how you Louisville.
Yeah. In any case, so you'll want to be paying attention for that to drop next Tuesday, July 6th is when that episode will drop, and you'll want to make sure you pay attention for that. So let's get to our main topic today, John. What are we talking about?
You and I had a road trip recently.
Road trip? Yep.
Yeah, we went to the thriving metropolis of Cincinnati, Ohio.
We did.
Do you want to say what that trip was about? The primary purpose of that trip, other than content fodder for our podcast?
Yeah. So we had the privilege of going with someone else here at Grace to visit a friend of the institution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just really enjoyed the opportunity to get to see this friend of the institution. And
it's somebody that you and I are friends with,
personal
right?
friends with.
Yeah. But we don't see that regularly because I live in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But that's why you and I got to go. We don't normally do
trips
to visit friends of the institution.
No, we're really not brought in for those purposes, which is fine. I'm
everybody has their lane.
I'm good with staying in my lane. But, I mean, if we had the technology, we would have recorded while on the road.
Yep, we would have.
But we don't.
We don't.
Or
we didn't take the time to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we did, but who knows? In any case, so we thought it would be we would want to invite our listeners along for the ride as we just sort of recount this trip. So how do we start, John? What was our first stop?
Well, Cincinnati is about 4 hours from Grace.
Yeah.
First of all, and you can either go down through Indianapolis to get there from here, or you can go sort of through the cornfields of Ohio.
Yeah.
And we chose cornfields.
Yes.
Mostly because we didn't want to deal with Indianapolis traffic.
Yes. But we stopped somewhere before.
Right. We were headed east
then
immediately. We stopped at my house, which is about 20 minutes from campus here.
Yes, the palatial estate, the Sloat house, the Sloat homestead.
The homestead, yes. Sloat Manor, whatever you want to call it. And we did a grass check.
Yes.
Now, reflections on the grass.
It's off to a good, strong, healthy start.
It needs a few years, doesn't it, to really get established?
Unless you're going to cheat by just trucking in turf and laying it.
Yeah.
It's a multi-year process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the soil that you have is not the most conducive to growing grass.
Well, and here's the issue with grass growing in Indiana. I've talked to other homeowners about this. When they build the house, they take all the topsoil away and sell it. And they make a good bit of money on that.
Interesting.
Yes. And so then you have just this useless clay underneath it. And then they come in with their trucks and their bulldozers
tears it all up.
And basically compact it down. So it's near impossible for roots and even sometimes water to get down in there. So we're trucking through. And clay can turn into topsoil, but it takes 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
Yeah, you had an elaborate sprinkler system set up. You don't have an in-ground system. You had an elaborate sprinkler system. So,
yeah, I have hoses running all over the place as well as Wi-Fi connected device so I can turn on my sprinklers from my phone.
Yeah.
They turn on automatically based on the weather outside, all sorts of things. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, a couple trees in the backyard.
Yep, planted a couple trees, got a weeping cherry and a red maple. So
yes, yeah. So we'll have to throw up a picture on social media.
Yeah,
so
I believe it's on your phone. So,
I did take it. Yeah,
so we can throw that up probably this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow.
We'll get that. We'll get that up there. So, so we stopped there briefly, just to do the check, and then on the road into the great state of Ohio, and then heading south towards Cincinnati.
Yep. Great conversation along the way.
Yeah.
The genesis of this podcast is you and I being able to just talk about just about anything.
Yeah.
All the time. So that's what we did for, I think, the whole way there. I don't think we even turned on the radio once.
No music, no podcasts. But as we were getting close to our initial destination, we got a surprise phone call.
Yes.
Or actually a text and a FaceTime.
Text. Yes. Nate in Ohio texted both of us.
Yeah.
And then heard we were together and FaceTimed us immediately.
Yes.
While we were following our friend of the campus into the city of Cincinnati.
Yes.
Which was a little scary.
Yeah.
It was quite a lot of traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was heavy traffic, and so I was managing the technology piece. You were faithfully navigating us through the streets and the roads of the Cincinnati area. And Nate from Ohio chimed in to let us know that he hit a hole in one.
Yes.
Shout out to Nate in Ohio.
However,
he was playing by himself. So he has no witnesses.
Yeah.
I think he said it was about an 8-iron from like 170.
Yeah, so that's a good 8-iron.
That's a good, solid, clean 8-iron. And apparently he also, because of the way the pin is located, he didn't actually get to see it go in.
Yeah, he went up there and found it.
Yes, indeed. So I'm going to go on record and say I believe Nate in Ohio.
Yeah, I believe Nate in Ohio as well.
But I know he is a little disappointed that he had no one to witness that. But a memorable experience for him that he felt the need to share with us, which we were grateful.
Yeah, that's great.
Glad that we could celebrate and join in his.
And it was a good laugh after a long car drive.
Yeah,
we laughed quite a bit.
Absolutely. So we finally did make it into the Cincinnati. We had stopped at the friend's house and saw his lovely wife, and saw their new home. They've only been there for a year, and so nice to see that. And then we followed him down into the city to go to his office building.
Now, I had been there before, but you had not been there,
not.
Right? What were you expecting?
Well, I think you had showed me pictures of the view from his office.
So just for context, he's in a very tall building. I don't know if I want to call it a skyscraper.
I'd call it that.
Okay, skyscraper. He's on the 27th floor, 28th floor.
Somewhere in there.
Something like that. with a corner office that overlooks the downtown part of the city and Great American Ballpark.
Yeah, it overlooks the Ohio River, and you can see Great American Ballpark where the Reds play. And then if you walk down a little further, not in his office, but on his floor, you can see Paul Brown Stadium where the Bengals play.
Yeah, and I mean, it's close enough that you can see the light-up scoreboard and see what's going on very clearly. From his office. So, I mean, it's right there. It was pretty awesome.
It is. So had a great chat with this friend about things that are going on at Grace, the different programs the seminary's involved in, and just some of the exciting things. And that was fun just to be able to tell him about it and to see his own excitement about some of the different initiatives that we've got going.
Yeah, and he did not know several of the things we told him.
Yeah,
that were happening. So that was exciting.
Yeah, and in fairness, it's just there's a lot happening in the seminary.
Oh yeah,
where new initiatives, some grant money coming in, and things like that. That it's fun to be able to share these things with friends of the institution and see them get excited about what they're a part of, because people like this friend participate in the institution and help make these things possible. So grateful for that. But so we chatted there for a while. He kind of showed us some of his baseball memorabilia as well.
Oh yeah.
And then we headed off for dinner.
Mm-hmm. We went to the famous Montgomery Inn.
Yeah.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
Which we could see from his office. Ultimately drove over there, and they're famous for, I think, their barbecue sauce more than anything.
Yeah.
But their ribs, which you and I both have, which we also have pictures of.
Yeah. Yeah. Good ribs, and that place is located right on the Ohio River, and so we sat on like a balcony or deck section that was overlooking the Ohio River, which was nice. Good food, and then we headed off to the ball game.
Yeah. So his company has tickets at the Reds, and so we took in a game with him and his family, and all his kids went to Grace, so we knew all of them and got to hang out with them, and that was just a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the seats were all right.
Yeah, we were. Let's just say there was no one in front of us.
Yeah. Third baseline. First row, directly behind the visiting dugout.
And where they would come out to go bat, basically, like the
steps up onto the field.
Yeah, we're right in front of us. So like when they were playing the Braves, so when Pablo Sandoval,
Kung Fu Panda,
had
no idea he was still in the league.
Yep.
How old is he? Like,
I imagine he's late 30s.
Okay, it feels like he's got to be older.
Mid to late 30s. Yeah.
Okay.
When he came up to bat, we were the first ones to see him, and we went, "Oh my goodness!" And kind of the crowd got a, rumble a little bit because he was coming up to bat because he's so famous,
right?
For coming into the league at the same time the Kung Fu Panda movie came out.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, we'll throw some pictures up on social from this experience. But this family, they're hardcore Reds fans.
They are, yeah.
They're not just casual, we enjoy going to the ball game. Like every Reds player that got up, they were basically telling us, yeah, he's having a good year, or he's not having a good year, or yeah, we were here, a week ago and he had 3 RBIs in this game.
They knew their stuff.
They knew their stuff, which was impressive. And so, and a relatively nice night for baseball. A little humid, but no rain and not like.
Yeah, and when the sun went down a little bit, it cooled off. It was quite nice.
Yeah.
It was quite nice. And in a overall very, very good game. Because we were behind the Braves dugout, there was just a ton of Braves fans around us. But for the most part, everybody was very, very kind and very sociable.
I think that's fair.
There was one guy toward the end of the game that was a little raunchy in some of his comments. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, vulgar beyond. Yeah, here's the thing. I think when I go to a baseball game and I sit out in the outfield stands or the bleachers, I expect, unfortunately, that kind of atmosphere.
Absolutely.
I didn't expect it as much, and thankfully there was one guy, and he didn't really start in until like the 8th or the 9th inning, when clearly the beer had worked its way through his system and got incredibly vulgar. So that was unfortunate, but there was also another Braves fan there.
Yeah. So there was this guy who was seemingly on his own. I don't know that he had anybody with him, but he was one of these guys that sat there and kept a baseball score sheet. Have you seen these with like the little diamonds on them, and you can annotate like, what was the count in the 3rd inning last time so-and-so is at the plate? So he was down there doing this. He was pretty consistently trying to get autographs early in the game from players, trying to get baseballs from the security guy that was right there.
Yep.
But he was we didn't talk to him, but he was a chipper fella.
Yes.
He was enthusiastic, I'd say.
He was very enthusiastic.
And the Reds built a lead throughout the game.
Yeah.
So I can't remember the score, but they were up probably 3 or 4 runs.
I think they got up 4-1 in after the 7th inning.
And then the Braves started getting some traffic on the bases.
Yeah.
And the Braves fans started to get a little bit more vocal.
Yeah.
And this guy started doing the classic Braves chant.
Yes.
The tomahawk sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, no one joined him.
Yes.
It was just him, but he kept going and going and going. And we're all dying because it's just so funny because he just keeps going. And I was at the end of our group and I was sitting next to Braves fans.
Yeah.
And they're just dying, just like he's willing them to victory.
Right.
He's willing them to victory.
Yeah.
We were having a very good laugh about it.
Yeah. So I tried to surreptitiously capture this on video, and I was successful. So I'm going to try to – obviously, you won't see the video, but the audio is really what's important anyway. So I'm going to see if I can manage to play this so our listeners can hear this. We've never attempted this before.
We've never attempted this before.
So we'll see if this actually – but this will give you a flavor, hopefully. That went on
for probably 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. And there was like nobody joining him, even though we were around Braves fans. Like I think we were in a section where there were probably some like friends of players, maybe some family, because there was a decent number of Braves fans. But this guy did that for the entirety of the 8th inning while the Braves were batting.
Yep.
And then again in the 9th. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy because the Braves were rallying. And so we're just kind of looking at each other like, I don't believe in superstitious stuff like this, but it's working. And even the Braves fans sitting next to you were kind of rolling their eyes and laughing like, I can't believe this. Like,
and they were, I mean, the phrase came out of their mouths. He is willing them to victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that was a fun little wrinkle to the experience. But fabulous seats, even better conversation with this family. And they're just a great godly family. Just love what God has done in their lives. And so just good to catch up with them. So then the Reds did pull it out.
Yep, they did win.
Good entertaining game. I think the final was 5-3. So enough to keep it interesting. But after that, headed back to our Airbnb across the river in Covington, Kentucky.
That was a nice place.
Yeah.
Did the trick.
It did. I felt bad that you got the couch.
Oh, my goodness. That pull-out sofa was miserable.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It was no. I fell on the sword there. I knew that going in. But it was just one of the bars in the back. And not restful sleep for sure.
Yep. And then we headed off to downtown Cincinnati to grab some coffee and maybe a little light breakfast based on a recommendation by this family.
Yep. Coffee Emporium. It was really good. We did a little work there and then came back. Yeah,
the Coffee Emporium place was good. I like the atmosphere. It's a nice
industrial warehouse sort of feel. Yeah.
Yeah, good coffee there. And so, and then on the way back, we listened to a podcast.
We can't talk about it, but we listened to a podcast.
Yeah.
Almost the whole way back.
Pretty close.
We barely talked. We mostly just listened to this and then broke down the episode afterward a little bit.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Jaw-dropping stuff in there.
Yeah.
But anyway. But again, I think that the big highlight was obviously just catching up with that family and being able to share with them what God's doing at Grace and express our gratitude for their involvement in it.
And the Braves fan. That was the other highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, goodness. What an event. Just to get into the headspace of that guy, like what must his life be like? You just kind of wonder, like,
yeah.
Okay. Like is he a local that just happens to love the Braves or does he travel around and kind of follow the team around to any degree?
Yeah, those are questions I'll never have the answers.
I mean, he was doing the old keeping score traditionally. If you know baseball, like every at bat, tracking it, right? I mean, it was impressive. Devotion to the utmost there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of devotion to the utmost, we need to find us an athlete for episode 78.
Yeah, with number 78. I'll list them off here. Anthony Munoz.
Yeah.
I know this one. He's an offensive lineman.
Yes.
He's a famous, I believe, tackle.
Tackle. Left tackle for the Bengals.
I think his son played center maybe for the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, his son maybe went to Tennessee. Anthony Munoz went to USC, then played for the Bengals for 13 years, something like that. Was a consistent All-Pro left tackle, Hall of Famer kind of guy.
All right, Art Shell.
You familiar with him? I'm
not. No.
Okay. Played for the Raiders as a tackle, and then was a coach for the Raiders as well. And I can't remember. I think he was one of the first African-American coaches in the NFL, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on maybe if he was the first or one of the first African-American coaches in the NFL.
Bruce Smith?
You've heard that name.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Legendary defensive end for the Bills. Played with the Redskins at the end of his career, but he's one of the top I don't know if he holds the record for number of sacks, but he's up there in like the top 2 or 3.
Okay. And then you got a Ohio State player for us?
Yeah. So Corey Stringer was an offensive tackle from 92 to 94 and then played in the NFL with the Vikings, but died in 2001 during Vikings camp of heat stroke. I don't know if you remember that. You would have been, like 12, 10?
I would have been 12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's tragic. And I think there might have even been, as a result, some changes in NFL policy about summer workouts.
That does sound familiar.
That kind of stuff. So, all right, you got a preference here?
I'm probably Munoz or Bruce Smith would probably be my leanings there.
I agree. So you feeling offense or defense here? That's really what we're down to.
Yeah, and offense or defensive line at that.
Yeah, we're still in the 70s, so we're kind of locked in there.
Oh, goodness. Let's go defense.
Okay, I agree. Bruce Smith it is.
Bruce Smith.
All right. One thing you liked?
Well, probably a month ago now, I was contacted by one of our former students, Ryan. I think he's in Virginia now, but he had been on staff with Crew at U of M, and he said some of their students wanted to know about church history and felt like they knew nothing. So he had them reach out to me, and I've been Zooming with them once a week this summer to talk church history on Tuesday evenings, and that's been a blast. That's been a lot of fun.
You are their church history guru.
The guru, yes. And they're like taking notes while I speak.
Wow.
I'm like, I know you're college students, all engineering students, but like.
Yeah. But that's the engineering personality type, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Which we're grateful for.
Mm-hmm. We need those people.
Absolutely. So for me, we had an egress window installed in our basement.
So you can escape.
Yes. So we can safely escape in the event of fire. And it has transformed that room that it's in. It was in my older son's former bedroom in there. And so put the egress window in and we've painted the room. So it looks like a completely different space now. So a fun little home improvement project. Shouldn't say little. It's not little when you cut a massive hole in your foundation and do that. But fun to watch the process.
Really?
They have the excavator to dig out the area and then the special saw that cuts the hole. And just, I'm fascinated by those things because I have no abilities in those areas. And so it is fascinating to me to watch that kind of thing.
Yeah, it gets back to the old Seinfeld joke that men like to be around work being done.
Yeah. And this was kind of fun. So it's a father and son team that owned the business. And I was talking with the dad, and he was saying that his extended family was in the building moving business.
Oh, that's your family business.
Which was what my grandfather. And so I asked him if he knew of my grandfather, and he said, I've heard the name. Because my grandfather was big in moving buildings in the Northwest Ohio, Northeast Indiana. He was more located in the kind of North Central Indiana and Northwest Indiana, but he had heard of them. So just kind of like you don't meet many building movers.
Yeah,
it's kind of a niche.
It's very niche
industry.
Yeah.
So in any case, that's my one thing I liked. So we have talked NBA playoffs. We've talked Jesus the Great Philosopher. And a reminder, next episode, we have our interview with Jonathan Pennington. You will not want to miss that.
Yep.
Even if you haven't read the book, it'll be incredibly helpful,
it's
beneficial.
Worth your time.
It's
Absolutely.
worth your time, so don't miss out. We've talked Roadtrip, our first ever Various and Sundry podcast, Roadtrip.
Yep.
Which was a lot of fun. We've talked about Bruce Smith, the dominant Bills defensive end. We've talked about your side hustle of being a church history
That's
guru.
right. That's right. Side hustle with no pay.
Yeah. And we've talked about egress windows. So I think by definition, we've covered our various and sundry topics, and we're ready to call mission accomplished.
Yep.
Okay. So all that's left to say at this point is until next time, the Lord bless y'all real good.
Later.